Hi everybody, it's CJ Miller. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana. Got my Coke Zero. Let me pop this sucker open. Okay. I'm CJ Miller. I'm in Shreveport, Louisiana, downtown. Across this Red River is beautiful Bossier City, Louisiana. Downtown Riverview Theater, love it. I take this walk a lot. If you watch my videos, you know this channel. They have not. They've turned off the fountains, I think. The sprinkler systems. It's maybe they're gonna, turn it off during the winter and only use it during the warm months or something. But it actually was only on for a couple of months. But the thing is they would turn it on, and it would be splashing and splashing, and it was pretty to look at. But yeah, maybe in the winter you don't really need water to splash around in or whatever. So maybe they're going to only turn it on in the summer, maybe like preserve it or whatever. I'm okay with that if that's the decision. I don't know. But last time I was down here, all those sprinklers were on. You know what I think? They probably did turn, because we are in November, and right after Thanksgiving, they're gonna have the Christmas set up down here. So that's what it is. They actually do. That makes sense. Okay, cool. There's going to be large trees and everything like that, big, huge Christmas tree, and then whatever kind of things. It's a little different each year. It's somewhat redundant each year, but I do the video of it each year, and but it's a little different. There used to be these great big, nutcracker, life-size nutcracker figurines and everything, besides these giant trees or whatever to scale, but I haven't seen those in a couple of seasons. I love the moon. Wow. I hope everybody is having a good experience. I know there's a lot going on with our leaders, and there's a lot going on to unpack, a lot of things to be concerned about, a lot of financial stressors that sometimes people don't need, particularly at this time of year. But no matter what is given to us, I really think humans, and especially people who have a sense of spirituality and a sense of community within their chosen friends nearby, and sometimes even just having this, we have a sense of community where we can say hello from several blocks away, several towns away, several states away, sometimes even say okay from across the country, to another country or whatever. We get a sense of community. We just have to be realistic. I want to check out this. I love trains, love train tracks, love bridges, love all that. And this, to me, is a wonderful, perfect bridge. A view of everything. There's like the lit casino hotel in the back, and it's not quite 8 o'clock, but during the winter it gets darker earlier. We know that. Days get shorter and everything. But it's been a while since I've actually taken a walk to this side and have talked a little bit about, just random things that I think. I love the Space Center. I think there really is, I don't think it's in this building. I'm going to have to really find out though, because I really want to do this. I want to go to, oh my God. Now I'm drawing a blank on what you call it. I'll think of it later. It's basically where you go to like an observatory or something like that, and then you look up and you see a display of the night sky, and they talk about it and everything. I forget what it is, but who cares? But they do have the IMAX theater that shows educational IMAX for about $15 a ticket. You can bring your children in there and they can check it out. This is, I didn't know what it was at first. I didn't get it. It's basically a safe harbor, and this is an anchor. They used to come off of boats, so it's not like the typical Popeye looking anchor or whatever that I'm used to seeing. It's a ball and chain type anchor or whatever, and inside of this anchor, it's lit with an LED light, but right now it's not turned on, so maybe they need to give it some attention, but they do go out after a few years, and they got to be replaced. These wonderful, beautiful LED lights. But the bridge is still looking nice. I'm going to come down and look. There is fishing along this river. This is kind of the beginning of a walkway. You can walk over there, and there's kind of a boat launch thing or whatever. You can bring boats out or something. Let me check it out. Okay. Lots of fun things to do around here. It's beautiful. I don't really come on this side. I always come down here, and I get fixated on the going on to the Riverview Park or whatever, and but it really extends all the way through. There's some park rules. I think this is a dog park or whatever. No, maybe. No public access beyond this point. So no, I don't know what it is they're doing. Yeah, there's a fence here and no public access beyond this fence. And who knows? I don't know. But look, it's a, let's see. Not available, but while using the ultra wide lens. Let's close it down. I didn't realize I was using the ultra wide lens. I'm going to shrink it down a little bit. Hey, well, I was trying to figure out how to turn on the light on my phone, but I'll just let you see behind me then. Okay. This structure I don't know what it is. But it's cool. How fun. I've never really just come walk. Oh wow. Is it a meditation thing? Look at this. Wow, look at me walking through this art. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. This is going to end up being in one of my short stories. I want you to know that I still have my book. I'm still researching on how to actually do the practical publishing, the actual submitting it to Amazon, which is a platform I want to use, and setting all that up. And it is my goal to have that done around December. You know, but certainly around those holidays, you know. So between Thanksgiving and the first of the year, that's my goal. Because the work is completed. I just have to figure out how to go about submitting. There's lots of the reason why I'm going through this is because the format has to be perfect. And then, you know, there's a lot to research. There's a lot of different ways. There's a lot of different pricing. I can allow for certain pricing in certain markets, just for, like a book in English being sold in, another country or something like that. You know, that's one thing that I'm excited about, that online publishing allows for the possibility that a lot of people could come across work that I've written, and if they want to, they can buy a collection of my poetry, which is the first book that I'm going to be publishing. It's going to be called Dancing on the Lifeline, and I have known that my first collection of poetry was going to be Dancing on the Lifeline ever since I wrote a poem in the early 1990s called Dancing on the Lifeline. And it's one of those examples in which I feel sometimes there's something that comes through, and maybe I get to act a little bit like a conduit for something that's a little bit prophetic almost, and that speaks to the times that we're living in now, where basically I'm just going on and I'm talking, just rambling, and then all of a sudden something just sort of formed, and the whole point becomes, there's these different little admonitions, but it basically boils down to that you never have to fear someone who's never had to face down a challenge, even if they are, even if they seem strong, and even if they stand mighty before you, if they've never faced a challenge, if they've never really had to fight, they probably just don't know how to fight, and you don't have to fear that person. And through proper assertion, you can just, whatever. You can be all right in spite of all that. Take away from that whatever you want. I wrote that back in 1993, 1994, something, and I don't know that I wrote it. I think it really just kind of came through me. And now is the time that I think that message is very important for the world, for anyone who would come across it, for anyone who would hear it. you know. You have no reason ever in your life to cower, you know, before someone who has never had to be brave. And that's about as far as I want to get in that philosophy. But that's the name of that poetry. But this poetry in this collection, it really is a chronicle of my thoughts and feelings and expressions through poetry from the time I was, I don't know, since I've been writing poetry. And I'm talking about ever since, you know, middle school, really, is when I started really writing. I wrote a few things in elementary school, but that was mostly guided. People would give, you know, teachers instructions or whatever. They would give topics, and we would write based on that topic, and it was somewhat guided. And the ideas really weren't mine, but it was more like kind of finding my style of writing. That's what that was about. But then in my middle school years, I got really obsessed with a science fiction TV program called V. And so we didn't have a word for it back then, but it was fan fiction that I was writing with all the characters of V and everything like that. You know, Diana, the alien leader, you know, and the whole soap opera that went on aboard the motherships, and then all the action that went on with the resistance, with the characters of Mike Donovan and Julia Push. I mean, you know, and that was even before there were frequent novels. So what was going on is the show, which I think first aired in like 1982 or something. The first miniseries, 82 going into 83, aired, and then in 1983 they aired a sequel miniseries called The Final Battle, which was a 3-night miniseries, and that was to introduce what was to be a weekly series that could have been great, except it's a big effects budget. And what happened in with that show, and I watched it, I tuned in I'll put it like this. I was just one of those children that I did not get excited about a lot of things. So whenever I did find myself getting excited, feeling exuberant about something, like this TV show V, then they let me watch it, they let me tune in. The TV was mine. It was one of these days where back in the days when you had like one TV, maybe you had a couple of smaller TVs in the bedrooms or something or whatever, but really you had one TV, and that was your one cable connection and everything like that. And so if you had cable, everything, and if you did have cable, you had 13 channels, maybe a couple of premium subscriptions, and then every year or something it would advance, and maybe they'd offer some more channels or something. But anyway, it was V. And so and it was when the TV show started, the regular weekly series, that they decided what they were going to do was they were going to publish one novel about every 2 months, and it was going to be published, and it was going to go the length of the TV series. They were going to start publishing, or they were going to start manufacturing some merchandise, little pretend laser guns or something like that, with the V and everything. But what happened was the TV show, after 21 episodes, canceled. They canceled it. They ran the 21 episodes, then they ran them again to finish out the series. And what they would do is that back then they would show the series, and then they would do the reruns, and that would fill up your year, because there's 52 weeks in a year, so you get about 21 episodes, and then you play each one of them about twice, and that'll get you through a season of TV. And that's, So what happened was they decided, the powers that be, that it was too expensive to keep the show up. But before the books, I was writing fan fiction, and I was passing it around school, my middle school, and then I started writing about other things other than V. Like, because I discovered. Hang on a second. So yeah, I wanted to make sure I wasn't going to get accidentally somebody in my vlog that by unawares, But anyway, I started writing about the V, and then what happened was my best friend Jeff or whatever, I would write short stories because I discovered the Night Shift, the collection from Stephen King. That was the first one that I discovered, I think. And then there was another one, Skeleton Crew, and I have each one of those. I bought each one of those that I have now in my. But I got them from the library, and I would read them. And Stephen King knew his. He knew his constituents. He knew who read his work. What was fun about Stephen King in the works that he wrote in those days, in the 70s going into the 80s, he wrote a lot of short stories, and of course he published Carrie, I think around 74 or 74 whatever, and then it really got when they started making his movies, Carrie and The Shining, and that's when he was like, wow, we are really onto something with Stephen King. So but I think one of the things that really worked with Stephen King is that in his writing he would go into parentheses, and he would switch tense, where he's doing a third person omniscient point of view, and then he would change that tense so that he would be speaking in asides or writing in asides to the person reading. So he was like he in that way he was able to pull the reader in, and it worked. It got me hook, line, and sinker, And then of course the forwards and the afters of his short story collections, where he was like, he would address letters, much in the same way that comic books have. They'll tell the story. They'll tell the story, and then there's news from the editors in the back that kind of addresses and kind of lets us know what to look for. It kind of gives a little reflection on what we just read or whatever. And for someone who loved the comic books, to be acknowledged by the creators of the comic book, that meant a lot. And so in this same way, Stephen King, writing the forwards and the afterwards in his stories, that really spoke to me, that really pulled me in. And so that is something that I want to include a lot of in my writing moving forward. So in a way, some of these videos that I'm doing right now as I'm getting ready, to have my first book, can kind of serve as a precursor to what's to be expected. But the poetry itself, that's when I started writing. I started writing short stories, started writing poetry for little contests in school and everything. I will tell you, I was a terrible student. Didn't want to do homework, hated math, didn't want to do anything, did not want to do anything. If my English, if they had just set me down in that 2-hour block of English class, and if they had set me down with the pen and paper and said, write whatever you want to write, we will make notes, we will give you the notes, you make the corrections, I would have excelled in that. But alas, we spend our time learning about other people's written work instead of learning how to write our own. So anyway, that's just, learning how to conjugate verbs and sentence structures, and everybody writes now. We make these big, long things when we get excited about a topic, good or bad, that we want to talk about. We'll write these long articles. Everybody's a writer now, just like everybody is a content creator, like I'm doing this. So everybody's basically got a publishing company and a movie studio in the palm of their hand, basically. So and also if I knew more about the technical stuff, you gotta a music studio in the palm of your hand. It's really these things, yeah. So what I learned from my time in cosmetology is that the gadgetry, it's not worth a damn if you don't have the talent and the artistic sight to put the implements to use, so like you can buy all the straightening irons in the world, you can do all the gadgets and all that, but it's really about the vision of the artist, the person who's sculpting the hair, creating the hairstyle. And in that way, that's how I feel about all the stuff, all the technology that's out there that makes production very easy, very, for the most part, very simple. It's certainly a lot easier than, say, putting together a collection of poetry and then trying to go around and find a publishing house, someplace where you can afford to self-publish, or either someone who's going to advance you some money or something. It's so much when you take out all that and you just get to focus on the art. It's a simpler time. There are just some schematics that I need to work out. But basically learning how the formatting is going to work. And I'm slow at that type of stuff. I'm pretty clever, I'm pretty smart, I'm pretty philosophical. I have to be shown, I have to be sat down and physically shown. I learn tactily, so I have to be shown how technology works. My niece had to show me how to. I'm by this point I had already been I had quit working for a technology company. I was one of the very first telemarketers in a company that opened here locally, and it wasn't telemarketing. I'm sorry, it was a call center, but it was not telemarketing. It was I think they called us technical support engineers. Basically, we went to on-the-job training. I went through several weeks, up to a couple of months, basically, of training on how computer technology works and everything. So that's fine. Had that down. And then along came 4G phone technology, and it was my niece that had to teach me how to, you can just download Facebook and then take a picture and put, she taught me how to do that. I'll forever be grateful for her, because now I have this, even though I had a Facebook account and I kept it from that moment, from the very first time that Facebook was on And actually, it wasn't a 4G phone, it was a 3G phone. That first, because what it is, I wanted a cell phone. I was just feeling isolated. I needed a cell phone. And I went to make a purchase of a 3G phone, and the guy said, you know, this phone is very expensive. It's several $100s. If you just wait a week, we're going to roll out these new things called Androids. And it's so much you're going to wish that you had waited. And I insisted, no, give me the 3G phone. And I did that. And then of course next week everybody's walking around with Androids, and I've got this 3G whatever. So needless to say, I went back and got the other phone. That was that was kind of cool. But and then shortly after that, my sister's daughter, my niece, taught me how to set up a Facebook account. She actually took the very first picture that I posted from my very first profile picture. But so if someone shows me, then that's it. I know it, and it doesn't go anywhere. I have to be tactily shown. I can't just read a manual. That's I may try. I don't know, but. Thirsty. Okay. But yeah, I haven't talked about the book in a while, since before I did this, and I didn't want the people that look on my that come in and they look. I didn't want you to think that I had just forgotten, or that I was just like talking and blowing steam or whatever, and that I wasn't serious about writing. I took that cruise. I came back. I had a few moments of inspiration. I wrote a couple of things. Ironically, not so much inspired by the cruise, but by just a couple of little bitty things that I guess the creativity was opened by that experience. But what I had to say didn't have anything to do with the experience. But yeah. I added a few things to it. What I wanted to say is that having all the technology and the knowledge of how to use all that technology, the tools and everything, it means absolutely nothing if the user has no sense of purpose, what he wants to say. And I know what I wanted to say. I know how I wanted to say it. I really wanted to get to a stage in my life now in which I'm ready to do it. I don't think I was busy gaining some experience living life, i.e. partying and then whatever. So so that I actually have. Let me put this. I don't want to just take a can and litter. I don't do that, I'll hold it when it's empty until I find a proper receptacle. I care about the environment. There you go. Okay, so, I want to, I really want to go home and, blow my nose. Allergies and stuff. It's that time of year. I wanted to have something to say in what I was writing. And that's one of the reasons that I have always had these ideas, short stories, collections, poetry, and I had it figured out. The very first thing I wanted to do was to, when I really get serious, I knew I was writing poetry and short stories, and I loved the idea. Those Stephen King collections got me hooked on the idea of publishing a collection of short stories, and I'm talking about loads of short stories, and I mean short stories that you can read within a single sitting, because I think that that is what a short story should be. I feel like a short story should be for the casual reader who can sit down in an easy chair or at a table or something like that and flip through a few pages and have been given a story beginning to end in a reasonable amount of pages, and within 10 to 15, within the regular size of a book chapter. I feel that's what a short story should be. Anything much bigger than that, you may as well call a novella, which is a short novel, you know, a shorter paperback that goes on maybe about 150 pages or something like that, you know. Parties going on under the bridge, love it. There's some inside of here. Got some going on at the G spot over there. Love the energy down here. So, let me get past the noise. Hang on. I'll tell you one thing though. I'm gonna stay my meager ass out of those casinos for a while. I have not this weekend, but a couple of weekends coming up, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, something like that. I've got I'm gonna go to the woods for what we call our annual retreat. We call it Camp Recovery. I try to make it out there every year. So we'll see. But I did win the free thing from the cook-off, even though whatever. It's people go there and they pretty much you know, donate what they have to the cause. There's a fee for it, you know. This year it's $60. It's all inclusive, food and everything like that. But what it is it's suggestive. They want you to pay it because that keeps it going year after year after year. But also, we try to include anybody and everybody regardless of their ability to pay. If you're part of our community, we want you to be there. So, but whatever. That's a whole different topic. But anyway, let's see. But I'm doing that. I should be doing that. And then I always get a little, you know, a little artistic after that, you know. Then, so who knows, whatever. Then what happens? I really do need to get home. I got this sniffle. It's gonna blow my nose. So, then what happens? It's not that I'm sniffling. Like I've got like a booger stuck way up there, and I don't want to pick my nose in front of you guys. I feel it too. That thing's just up there. And it's so crass, right? But, and I don't want to like suck it and eat it because that's really disgusting. I may as well just pick my nose if I'm going to do that. Anyway, you didn't need to know all that. So, hang on. Okay, I'm at a relatively busy corner, so as I get closer to where there are some people walking and converging, then what's going to happen is I'll pause the video. I've got the light, man. You really want to be careful in Shreveport because even if you have the cross light where you can walk, they don't give a damn right here. And so, yeah, they will, you know, I think when I'm in the red light district, what qualifies as a red light district for us, whatever, it's kind of tame. I think as the sober person who actually is also a pedestrian on foot, I think it's kind of my responsibility to watch out for traffic. Even though I know people are not supposed to be driving stupid or buzz driving or anything like that, I do know the world that we live in. people do that and stupid things happen. So I try to do my part. I'm gonna get this booger out of my nose. Okay. So now, you know what I would love to do is I would love to hear about what's going on in your world, you know, in your neck of the woods or whatever. So feel free to leave some notes in the comments. There are 326 regular subscribers. I appreciate that. Because when I first started this, I was like, well, I'm getting up a Facebook page, and I did. I literally, because I was not going to be using it anymore. And so I actually gave notice to Facebook, hey, I want to close it, I'm not going to be using it, this and that, what do I do? Then, about 2 months later, it got hacked. It took them a while to close it, they didn't. And so, whatever, and then it got hacked. And that was a lot of my not knowing a lot about that type of technology. And so, and then it was like, they posted posing as me, that I'm dying and I'm laying in a bed, and I need medical supplies and whatever, someone to come change my colostomy bag or something. I don't know. I don't have any of those issues. But you know, I had a few thousand people listed, at least 2,000, but over that amount. And I think that's not realistic, because there were so many accounts. That something else that people would do is they would start a Facebook account, and then for some reason they would abandon that account without closing it, and they would go back and they would open a whole nother account, you know, or whatever, as if you couldn't find somebody or something. So these people had multiple aliens, so it wasn't realistic. It wasn't realistic that there were like 2,000 to 2,500 people that I was relating to on a daily basis. And I wanted a more real connection. A lot of what I was doing went from writing about thoughts and views and opinions, and I started doing more video like this, more vlog. And because of that, that's when I decided to do YouTube. And then when I switched over and I started addressing that, I didn't think that I would have very many subscribers. I got like one subscriber that kind of befriended me a little bit, and then it felt really good. It felt nice. Everybody wants a little validation, but ultimately, my goal when I started it was to express my hope in moving to the apartments that I now live in. I was hoping for that, but then also there was a lot of love in me for the city in which I live, and I wanted to express a lot of positive things, especially my downtown community. I love living downtown Shreveport. One of these days, I may end up moving, and that'll be cool too. If I do, it'll be to another community in Shreveport, but I love the, I don't know, I love all the music that's down here. I love all the art. I love people, you know. I love being a part of a neighborhood. I love walking down the streets of a neighborhood that I've lived in for many years, and that people can say hello, and if they don't know my name, they know me well enough, they see me and they're like, hey, CJ, or whatever, you know. I like that, you know. So that's something that I never really experienced in my life ever, until I got someplace and got settled. And I also had to shake the social paranoia. We call it social anxiety. It's really paranoia, trauma-induced paranoia. We all have a little of that, some more than others. we have to get over that and realize that everybody has a little something like that, and it's okay to try to make friends. Doesn't necessarily mean that you make friends and you instantly give them the keys to the kingdom. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean that that they're instant besties. The people that you associate with, they don't have to instantly be your chosen family or anything like that. You get to know people. You get to find out if they're safe or not. But we can't do that if our individual paranoias and traumas stop us from giving a nod and saying hello, whatever. And you know, that's one of the reasons why I like big cities, because you just really don't have to be concerned about that at all. If you want to disappear, go somewhere, you know, like Miami. I used to live in Miami, and I didn't live in Miami. I went all the way down there, and then I found out, you know what suits me? Living near a metro like that, but a smaller community. So Homestead, which was outside, it's in Miami-Dade, but it's a community. And what it is, hang on, let me pass this block here. So yeah, Homestead is a small town outside of big, huge Miami and Miami beaches and everything like that. So close enough to where I can go be a part of, and but you know, it kind of gave me the best of, and that's what I get from Shreveport, is that I get to live, and of course I'm from here, you know, but I get the feeling of a downtown community with a town that's small enough, and that I've been here long enough that I get to know people, and I get to know some of their reputations and a little bit of their lives, and they get to know a little bit more of mine. And of course it gets easier as the years go by, once I invest years. I came here the other day, by the way, Fusion Bistro experience, and had one hell of a breakfast. You know, there are some things, for one thing, it was affordable. They could work on bringing up their coffee game a little bit. If you go for breakfast, you want coffee, they need to step up their coffee game. But aside from that, the breakfast is good. And the whole idea there is that every few months or something like that, they may bring in a new chef. Yes, sir. And that new chef will be able to do something different. But I've only been there the one time, and it was fine. It was fun. It was worthy at the price or whatever. But I, right now, am saving a lot of money. As I mentioned, when I'm not going into those casinos, that I am saving money to help fund my trip. I'm going on that one, the Camp Recovery, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about I'm going away at the end of summer. Oh, I'm sorry, not the end of summer, at the end of winter. The end of February going into March, just before spring. It'll be close enough to spring, but yeah. And I'm going to be gone for about little right around a month, give or take, you know. It's been such a long time since I've done that, you know, and I'm taking advantage of being able to pay ahead on some experiences that otherwise would not be afforded to me, you know. And I don't think there's going to come a time where I'm going to have that much time away from, you know, free from kind of responsibility or something. But I'm going. I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this. It's paid for, you know. So that's it. So, but well, it's nearly paid for. I've got like one more payment on that month-long away that's going to be in Miami. I used to live there. I want to spend some time there and visit with some people, and I'm going to be taking a series of brief cruises going out of the port of Miami. I'll go ahead and talk about it. Towards the end of February, I'm taking a 4-day cruise. Then I'm going to come back and I'm going to stay in Miami for 3 days. Then I'm going to go back and take another 4-day cruise on the same Carnival Cruise Line. And then I'm going to come back to Miami and spend 2 nights. And then I'm going to go back on the boat for another 4 days. And the reason why I'm doing it this way, the 4-day trips, the 4-day cruises, are just as affordable on this boat, the Conquest. It's the same affordability as a 3-night cruise. And I say 2 nights, it's really 3 nights. So I go on the boat for 4 days, come back, spend 3 nights in Miami, go back on the boat for 4 more days, come back to Miami, spend 3 nights, 7, 8, and 9th of March in Miami, and then I go back on the boat, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, and so that 13th. So yeah, it's yeah. So what happens is that there are many cruises in between those 4-day cruises that are 3-night cruises that I could have opted to stay on the whole boat, but those 3 nights are the exact same cost as the 4-night, and in one instance it's actually more expensive. And I'm an economist. I'll look at this and I'll say, well, I'm not going to pay the same amount of money to stay for 3 nights on a boat that I would stay for 4 nights when I do have connections and it's out of Miami, and Miami is a wonderful place that I can actually get around and experience and see some fun things too. And maybe it's going to be right before spring break. So, I'm going to be able to participate in some of that action, And I say that loosely. I am not a cruising the boulevard, looking at co-eds on, half naked on spring break kind of guy. That's not me anymore. I don't think it really ever was, really, to be honest with you. But but I do love the idea of going to commune with the ocean. And I haven't been able to really do that. And that got reawakened in me when I took this past cruise. I had forgotten how beautiful and how much I love the ocean. And I'm not someone who was really raised around the ocean. Even when I lived in Amelia outside of Morgan City, we went and we swam in bayous. We swam in brackish water. We didn't really go to the Gulf even. So. I am very near my apartments, as a matter of fact. We're heading across now. Yeah, they're right there. And so I'm just the 3rd block in. When they built these things, I had this great big fantasy that I was going to get. Wow, they were going to build these, and I was going to look out, and I was going to get the first apartment, and I was going to be able to look out and look over and see downtown. I don't have the best view of downtown from my apartment. I really don't. But I do have a view from the balcony, and I'm so glad that I got in when I did, because this first building, they don't have balconies on the outside. They have a little bit more room on the inside, but I've got plenty of room inside of my 2-bedroom apartment. Now, there's the occasional miscommunication because the office managers, they're office managers of the property, their management, but they don't make they don't make corporate decisions. They implement corporate direction, but they don't make corporate decision. And if there's a mix-up, it's usually not their fault. So the reason why I went ahead and purchased the third cruise that I thought that I was going to do while I was down in Miami is because there was a thing about my lease. Hey, it was supposed to increase, but by all online accountability, it did not increase. And even when it was time for me to pay my rent through the payment app, I went and I spoke to them and I said, the payment app is showing there's no change in my, and they said, no, that's your rent. You pay that rent. It's not going to change. They affirmed that. That was the assistant manager. She asserted that quite well to me. And by the 6th of the month, or whatever, we realized that there had been a mistake and the information at the corporate level had not been corrected, and they corrected it after the fact. But by that time, I had already spent the money to help pay for that third part of the cruise. Well, it all worked out. I sat him down, and I did not assert, and I didn't bully, or I wasn't insistent. I just explained, hey, I came to you in good faith, and I brought the paperwork and explained, hey, my rent is supposed to change. I really believe that. And that they said no, and I said, are you sure there's not going to be a surprise? And they said, no, that you're good, you pay this, you're going to be good. We had that conversation. So I had this conversation, and I said, listen, it's all well and good, but I live on a budget that what I do is I pay my bills first. What's left over after the bills, I get to have, and I get to do what I do with. And it's never that much. But in this case, it was enough that I could go ahead and get that last part of the cruise. So, that last cruise. So I decided while I'm down there, I'm going to go ahead and do it. Screw it. Go ahead and do it, right? And so anyway, I'm to say by now I've already spent the budget. Well, and so luckily they did agree to that it was a mistake and that it wasn't a big thing, and so there's not going to be any accumulating late fees or anything like that. They will just carry over the corrected amount. They'll carry it over to December. It was an honest mistake, and I remember talking about this, but I also remember talking about in other areas of my life where I wanted to learn to be a little bit more compassionate in the way that I communicated when there was an error, especially when it comes to service or money or something like that, that I wanted to be able to communicate and work the results that I feel should be worked, and get the fairness that I should get that without having to be menacing, threatening, pull out the contracts, pull out the, all that kind of stuff, did not be that kind of guy. I wanted to work away from that. I wanted that experience. I wanted to grow in that area. And if there's ever, this was certainly a growth. This was efficient communication on my part, and an honest mistake of the assistant manager. She wasn't being malicious or anything like that. It was just, you know, it really was her trying to communicate what the corporation who owns and manages these apartments that I live in. It's really that mistake that they made it. So, but we got it all worked out. All's well that ends well, and yeah, you know, cool. So I'm going to take my trip, and had that mistake not happened, I would not have purchased that third part of the cruise. So in the long run, I'm getting nearly a full month in Miami, whereas before it would have been a little over 2 weeks. I'm going to go down a day or so early, and so from the 21st or something like that, I'll be in Miami, and I'll come back on the 15th or the 16th or something like that of March. So, yeah, go figure. I hadn't decided on a return date yet. Now I'm in Louisiana, and I made the prudent decision, looking at everything that had been going on in the last month, that what I need to do, and I could have gotten a plane ticket for the same price as a bus ticket, a little less, a little more, whatever, but close enough. What I decided to do was take the bus. Greyhound. I love Greyhound. Safer. I don't have to worry about wings falling off of planes, doors falling off of planes, 30-year-old planes falling out of the sky. I don't have to worry about that, and I don't mean to be negative, but also I don't have to worry about the aviation industry being affected while Congress works on what they need to work out, you know. So I think I made the right decision there. Okay, I'm home, and I'm going to go ahead and bid you now good night, love and light. God bless you. And get in touch with me. Drop some comments. Bye.